Before the video starts, I just want to say that this is really big spoilers and goes really deep into detail, so if you want competitive to stay just competitive, don't watch this video. If I asked you what the biggest mystery of Rocket League is, except for why there are so many toxic 10-year-olds, you'd probably say competitive ranking. There are many misconceptions, like how some people think that their rank is influenced by their performance. I'm making this video to clear this up. Lucky for you guys, I've done hours of research, compiling data, playtesting, analyzing, etc. just for this video. I tried data mining, but after downloading some viruses, I gave up. Without further ado, every single hidden aspect of competitive Rocket League. Also, side note, my friend is making me say that this was his idea. Let's start at the very beginning. Rocket League's competitive game mode is based on ranks. These range from Bronze 1 all the way up to Supersonic Legend. These ranks are determined by something called MMR, also known as Matchmaking rating. MMR works as so. If you beat an opponent, you gain MMR, and if you lose a game, you lose MMR. Generally, for a perfect match, you'll gain or lose 9 MMR. It's calculated with decimals, but all around to keep it simple. The MMR you get or lose varies for imperfect matches. If you win against an opponent that has more MMR than you get more than the standard 9. It's the same with the opposite. If you lose against someone who has less than you lose more than 9. If you win against someone who has less, you only gain a few, and if you lose against someone with more, you only lose a few. Here's a list of how much MMR you need for each rank. You need about 50 MMR to level up in duels. For doubles and standards, the ranks vary. Also for the 1.94 update, or Season 3, the higher ranks, meaning Diamond and above, were deemed too hard to get in 2v2s and 3v3s, so Psyoinx lowered the threshold needed to achieve them. I'm going to label each rank with a number, 1 being Bronze 1, 4 being Silver 1, all the way up to 22 being Supersonic Legend. These ranks are split into 4 different divisions, which don't really do anything, so I'll be ignoring them to make calculations easier. For matches like doubles and standards, MMR is based on a weighted average. The algorithm averages all the ranks from each player, but skews it to the player with the most MMR. I think it's weighted by 300. However, if someone in your party is a Grand Champ 1 or above, the weighted average is thrown out the window and your party MMR is now their MMR. Casual also uses a weighted average to determine the matchup, but it's less intense. Me, a Gold 2 rank 8, and my friend, a Silver 1 rank 4, were matched up against Gold 1s and 2s almost every match. Our average would be 7, and the opponent average would be 7.75. Let's say we win that game, Gold 2 and Silver 1 versus Gold 1 and Gold 2. Because of how close my rank is to the average of the other team, I would go up about 9 MMR. However, my teammate gained 16 because of how offset the match was, rank 4 versus 7.75, and it works the same way for standards. There's also a safety net feature. If you achieved a new rank, there's about a 15-point safety net before you fall back down to your previous rank. So if you hit Diamond 1 at exactly the threshold, then you lose your next game, you won't drop down. However, it doesn't work in reverse. If you fall through the safety net, you have to win those 15 plus MMR back. Streaks are just ignored in terms of gaining or losing MMR. You don't actually gain or lose more, you just get placed against harder opponents than you would normally, which can lead to more MMR if you beat them. And the opposite is true. If you're on a big losing streak, you would get matched up against weaker opponents than you would normally. Stay with me now, because that was just the basics. We can finally move on to the main course of the video, how placement matches work. These are very weird and hard to actually get data for because of multiple reasons. Mainly, you only get 10 matches, it takes a lot of time, the data is all over the place, many sources say different things, etc. After reading a few sources, my mind has been blown. I found 3 different theories, all building on top of each other, and my data supports all of them. Here's where I'm at. There are 4 different variables for rank resets: target MMR, median MMR, old MMR, and the squish factor. Old MMR is your MMR from last season. Median MMR is the median for the season. For Season 3, it's 600, but it changes from season to season. Target MMR recenters oddly centered playlists, so if the majority of playlists were golds and champions, then the target value would bring them back towards the median. The squish factor is how much your rank is pulled towards the median MMR, which is usually 0.8 or 0.9. All the factors vary across the playlists. From my understanding, target MMR assists median MMR and they're the same value. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. The calculation you can use to find out your placement rank is modeled by this equation. So let's take me for an example. My old MMR was 500. The median and target MMR are both 600. If we plug the values into the equation, my rank would be set to 520 MMR, which makes sense. If you're a Grand Champ 2 with an MMR of 1500, you would be reset down to 1320, a Champion 3, which is quite a big difference. However, all you need to take away from this is that for resets, your MMR is your MMR from last season pushed toward a median value, generally around 600. If it's your first time playing a game mode, whether it's because you're new to Rocket League or just haven't played that before, your MMR defaults to the target MMR. This season it's 600, so your MMR would be default to 600. If it's your first time playing Rocket League, you have to reach level 10 before you can play competitive, a sneaky way to determine your opponent's rank. When I put this into my script, it confused me a lot. How can MMR start off at 600 and be influenced by your casual rank? After a lot of thinking, I decided your casual MMR influences which opponents you face. For example, I created an alt account and lost 20 casual games in a row in hopes to get my MMR as low as possible for some research. I still started off with 600, but my first few games were against silvers. I'm pretty sure your casual MMR influences your first games, but then once the game gets a better sense on your rank, it starts letting your obtained MMR do all the work. I think it's just for new players or game modes that you haven't ranked in yet. I'm fairly certain about this part, but take it with a grain of salt. From my in-game research, placement matches generally punish you a lot more from losses than reward you from wins. For instance, I won a game and got 26 MMR, then lost the next and lost 70. From my experience, you'd go up about 28 and down 60. However, the first few games are more weighted. I'm pretty sure it's the first 2 wins and then first loss. From my experience, I would get 50 MMR from my first 2 wins, and then lose a lot when I lost next. One time it was down 70, one time it was down 90. I think this is because of something called the sigma factor. In its most basic form, the sigma factor is an uncertainty factor. Rocket League's algorithm wants to perfectly place your rank, so you'll receive more MMR fluctuations. Even after your placement games, the algorithm is still unsure about where you should be ranked, so your MMR gains and losses will be more around 11 to 7 MMR for a perfect match. There are 50 to 100 sigma matches that you play for the game to completely accurately place your rank. At the beginning of new seasons, your sigma value increases a little, and then takes 15 to 20 matches to settle itself back down. You'd know if your sigma value has settled down when you start receiving more frequent current divisions on your post-game scoreboard. Moving on to doubles and standards. Doubles and standards both work the same way, but quite differently from duels. If you're in a party with other unranked people, they start off as their MMR determined by the calculation, which kind of explains this. We all played the same placement matches, and all had the same 5-game loss streak. However, I got carried to a Plat 1 last season, and my teams were Silver 2 and a Bronze 3. If we use the weighted average formula as I mentioned above, we'd have an average of 7.6, which is a Gold 1 or 2, which will explain why we went up against Gold 1s and 2s. If you're unranked and play with a ranked friend, the average doesn't skew to the highest skilled party member, but the highest ranked member. If you're on track for a Diamond 1 and you're in a party with a Silver 2 and a Bronze 3, with a 300% weight, your party would have a 7.75 average, or a Gold 2. You would be Diamond facing off Golds, which is pretty OP. Also, if you're losing and your team wants to forfeit, the person that votes to forfeit or leaves first will lose more points than a regular loss and will also result in a 5-minute ban from matchmaking. Placement matches pretty much work as extreme competitive matches. You start off as your rank from your previous season, as long as it's below Champion, or 600 MMR if you're new to that game mode. Your MMR is influenced mainly by wins and secondarily by the opponent's skill. Placement matches grant about 20 MMR per win and 60 per loss, varying by how much more or less skilled the opponent is, and about 50 for your first 2 wins and 80 for your first loss. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and use code OE36 in the Rocket League item shop. See you all in the next one. Bye!